Hi everyone, this is my fight on Dastardly Dominus Chaos event, which is the Emperor's Lost Chapters Chaos event, and this run is specifically the TCC Xtreme Challenge posted by the Crystal Chronicles podcast group. As always, before we head into the battle, I'll be covering what the TCC Xtreme Challenge requirements are, the party setup that I used and the reasons behind the party, and then finally we'll head into the actual battle itself. For those only interested in specific sections of the video, there will be a timestamp included in the video description so that you can easily jump into the section that you are interested in. So starting off with the TCC Xtreme Challenge requirements. So in this TCC Xtreme Challenge, you are required to meet all the mission objectives without using any synergy characters. So no Firon, Emperor, Gilgamesh or Kefka. And in addition, there are quite a number of other characters who would have made the fight significantly easier and are therefore banned as well. So in order that is listed here, the banned characters are Bash, Ardyn, Noctis, Kiss, Amidalion, Sas, Afmao, Edward, Makina, Kimari, Trey, and Leon. In addition to the banned characters, you are not allowed to use any friend support unit. You cannot enter burst mode during the fight. You are allowed to equip burst weapons, but specifically you're not allowed to click on the burst mode and activate burst mode throughout the entire fight. Your summon has to be either Chocobo or Spirit Moogle, and most people doing the challenge will default to Chocobo because Spirit Moogle essentially does nothing. In addition, the special requirement for this Xtreme TCC challenge is deemed or called Mako Reactor Flashback, where at least one of your party members in the fight has to be a character from the Final Fantasy VII series. So with that said, let's move on to the fight overview and the party setup. Okay, so coming to the fight overview first, something that I will do differently this time is to show the fight overview from the Dissidia Info boss guide section. So for those wondering where this comes from, you can check out www.dissidiainfo.com. I'll put the link in the video description as well, where the host Magnol posts very detailed and comprehensive boss guides. So covering this fight, it consists of two waves. The first wave is a Swarmfly and two mini Swarmflies. And the first wave is pretty easy, they don't really have a lot of HP. The main Swarmfly in the middle will resummon the adds again after a few turns once the minions are dead. And so you should try to focus your damage on the Swarmfly in the middle. The wave automatically ends once the Swarmfly in the middle dies, regardless if there are any Swarmflies remaining after that. The only irritating thing about the first wave is that they can inflict poison on your characters, and ideally you want to have some sort of AoE Brave Shaving because the mini Swarmflies move pretty quickly and they can amass Brave pretty quickly and release this on you as HP damage if you don't have any means to AoE Brave Shave. And obviously if you only have single target attacks, switching targets onto the mini Swarmflies are a waste of turns. So coming to the second wave, which is the challenge in this fight, it consists of a pair of Ferrum Scorpions, and the Scorpions themselves aren't too dangerous. There's only one special attack that you need to watch out for in the form of when they raise their tails. After raising their tails, eventually you will see the Scorpions targeting themselves. When they are targeting themselves, it's a signal that they are about to use a move called Brave Charge. And Brave Charge is a move where they self-battery, and immediately after that they will release or unleash this brave amount onto your party in the form of Ferrum Laser. And the Ferrum Laser is an instant turn after Brave Charge, which can be quite dangerous. Initially they tend to battery themselves for about 18,000 Brave, and this will unleash about 6,000 damage per party member, and later on in the fight when their stats are buffed, it becomes about 24,000 plus Brave, which will equate to about 8 to 9,000 HP damage per party member. So the key to this fight to survive is to think of ways to get around this mechanic of Brave Charge into instant Ferrum Laser. Besides that, the other notable thing about this fight is that the Ferrum Scorpions are extremely tanky. They each have 4 million HP, and to meet the mission requirements you need to complete the entire fight within 100 turns, and this also includes the turns that you need to spend to complete the first wave. So you really need DPS heavy party composition to meet the turn requirements, especially in the Xtreme TCC challenge where no synergy units are allowed. This becomes quite challenging, and if your party mainly consists of single target DPSs, usually it will mean that it's going to be very challenging for you to finish off the Scorpions before the 100th turn. Okay, so coming to the party setup and the reasons behind I chose this party. First of all, the Xtreme TCC requires you to use at least one Final Fantasy VII party member, and I'll quickly go into the pros and cons of each available unit before I detail on why I chose Aerith. So if you can actually filter your units by series. So coming to FF7 characters, there's quite a couple here. So firstly, you have Cloud, and Cloud does have his uses here. Firstly, if you have his World of Illusion weapon, he can dispel some of the generic buffs the bosses grant themselves. Secondly, of course, he has the guaranteed paralysis after using Finishing Touch. That can come in handy as well on the circumstances if you need to buy additional turns when you see the boss about to battery themselves and use Ferrum Laser. However, his drawback is that his damage at this point of the game is somewhat lacking. Next up we have Tifa. Tifa is a strong DPS character, but her drawback especially in this fight is that she specializes in single target DPS, and since the boss has 4 million HP each, you really need to try to bring in more turn efficient DPS in this fight. Yuffie can be useful because her EX plants a framed debuff on the boss, which actually prevents Brave gain that doesn't come from attacks, as well as prevents them from buffing themselves. So if they are actually hit by Yuffie's frame debuff called no cheating, their self battery will not work, and this is actually one way to get around their battery into Ferrum Laser attack. In fact, if they are at a broken state and they are inflicted by the no cheating debuff, the self battery and Ferrum Laser will deal 0 damage because they will not be able to battery themselves for the HP damage. The drawback though is that Yuffie's damage is significantly lacking at this stage of the game, and her no cheating debuff only lasts for 2 turns, so you really need to time it extremely well for it to be effective. Vincent can be useful because of 2 reasons. One is that he can actually debuff Max Brave down, and if you bring in Vincent, one strategy is to pair him up with other Max Brave down debuffers, and you can actually make it to a point where the boss has 0 Max Brave, thereby making them, even if they battery themselves and use Ferrum Laser, it will deal 0 damage. However, you need very specific party compositions for this, and even after doing that, your party will still be lacking in damage, so you really need to think about how to complement this team with strong damage potential in order to finish the fight. Sid is actually quite useful as well. He's one of the later characters who got a rework and EX plus, and so his damage is actually quite okay, and he also can dispel some generic buffs that the bosses cast on themselves, and he also has some healing built into his kit as well, which can help you recover from the Ferrum Laser attack. So he's actually quite a decent character for you to consider if you have him built up. Kate Sif is an okay support at this stage of the game. He does have his buffs and cheerful gift, which includes an HP regen. The drawback though is that the HP regen is somewhat lacking at this stage of the game and will not be enough to recover from Ferrum Laser. Barret is okay. He does decent damage and he functions as also a support character because he boosts the damage and max brave that your other party members have. The drawback I feel for Barret is that to get his damage in, you need to be spamming his skills, so I have concerns regarding his longevity here. Sephiroth is actually quite okay as well. I actually have him at G3, but the reason why I don't use him is that, similar to Tifa, he specializes in single target damage, although his EX does target both Ferrum Scorpions at once, but his Octa Slash and his Fervent Blows only deal single target damage. Zack was actually a strong contender here that I was considering besides Aerith. So Zack does very decent damage still at this stage of the game, and he's also quite a good tank. The only drawback though is that his tanking abilities doesn't protect the rest of the party from Ferrum Laser, because Ferrum Laser is a party-wide HP damage. But he can otherwise protect the rest of your party from most of the other single target damage the bosses have. The other drawback though in this fight is that the bosses have high turn rate, and their Brave Battery into Ferrum Laser consists of 2 turns, which means that they can very quickly wear down the lock-on debuff that Zack places on them, which only lasts for 4 turns normally. So the party member I chose was Aerith, and I used Aerith for this challenge because her healing wind is an excellent burst healing and can very comfortably allow me to tank a Ferrum Laser hit, even if it does 8000 damage to my entire party. One healing wind will heal me back to full, and her Fury Brand at full 3-3 will also boost the damage of the other 2 party members, and for this reason I chose Aerith as my FF7 party member. Now, Aerith's drawback is that she's not very turn efficient because her healing wind and Cetra Prayer doesn't end with an HP attack. It's only a Brave Battery and healing move. So to complement this, I chose 2 other party members who are DPS heavy. In particularly, they are very turn efficient DPS. So I chose Ultimecia and Shantotto to back this up. The risk here is that I don't have a tank character, but I felt that a tank is not really mandatory here because most of the Scorpion's other attacks are brave attacks. So the risk here is that you need to be able to shave them down after they brave attack your party members. You will take a lot of breaks and that will impact the score, but so long as you can shave them after they do their attacks, the only attack that you need to watch out for is their battery into Ferrum Laser anyway, and Aerith has got that covered. Ultimecia has great AoE damage as well, and she's incredibly turn efficient due to her having the free turns. And for Shantotto, she also has excellent turn efficient DPS because her EX does 100% splash, so does her LD, and her S1 and S2 does very significant damage even though they are single target. She can also very easily break the scorpions regardless of how much brave they have. So that's it, let's move on to the fight. I'll see you there. Okay, so starting on the first wave, you'll notice that with Ultimecia, I use her HP++ attack, and this is mainly to save skill users first, because if you start off immediately with her LD, you will need to use 1 or 2 other skill users to get her EX ready before her Maleficent buff wears off. But using HP++ will require less ability users to get there before Maleficent wears off. So I started off with 2 turns of HP++ before I use her LD. Here I had no choice, I had to target Swarmfly C because it's about to get a turn and will do some HP damage to my party member. But otherwise, other than that, I tried to focus as much damage as I can on the fly in the middle. Once Ultimecia's EX is fully charged, it's not an issue any longer after that. With Shantotto also, she does excellent single target DPS through her first and second skill, so you can also use that to target the fly in the middle. With Shantotto, you just have to be careful not to let her rage counter wear off. She starts off the fight with, I believe, only 5 turns of rage. She does go into perma rage if her HP ever drops below 50%, and you will easily trigger this on wave 2. So on wave 2, her rage counter should no longer be an issue. But on the first wave, you do need to watch out and refresh her rage counter through her HP++ attack whenever it's low. Okay, so the Swarmfly has resummoned the ads, but it's not an issue. There are AoE attacks I have in the form of Ultimecia and Shantotto's EX. Also, notably, before we end the first wave, I tend to really save Shantotto's LD up till the near the end of the fight, because once the bosses tend to be low, that's when they are at their most dangerous, and having her LD it really serves as excellent clutch paralysis, as well as having the 100% defense down right when I pop my summon will help increase the damage I deal inside summon phase as well. Okay, so coming into wave 2, you can see the first scorpion is already targeting itself, so it's about to unleash Brave Battery into Ferrum Laser. At the start of the fight, it's not too bad. The Ferrum Laser itself does only about 6,000 damage per party member, and Aerith can very comfortably heal this with either her Fury Brand EX or her Healing Wind. And if you get some lucky dodges and only 1 or 2 party members take the HP damage, you can also heal that party member with her Prayer of Cetra, which does single target healing. Also, something which I forgot to mention when I covered the party composition, the Scorpions are immune to the generic poison debuff. However, both Shantotto and Ultimecia has a framed sap debuff built in, so Ultimecia has a framed sap built into her Hell's Judgment, her second skill, and Shantotto also has a framed sap debuff built into her skill. And this is actually quite a handy mechanic to get around the Brave Battery into Ferrum Laser here, because the Ferrum Laser always counts as a second turn that the boss is taking, even though it's an instant second turn. So what this means is that, for example, if the boss batteries himself or itself for 18,000 Brave, before it can unleash Ferrum Laser, it will lose about 9,000 Brave into Ultimecia and Shantotto's sap effects, and therefore it will only unleash Ferrum Laser coming from a starting point of about 9,000 Brave. So on this playthrough, what I've found out is that the combined sap effect from Shantotto and Ultimecia usually takes away 9,000 Brave before they can do Ferrum Laser. And if both are active when Ferrum Laser hits, Ferrum Laser only does about 3 to 4,000 HP damage per party member, which means that you can even survive 2 back-to-back Ferrum Lasers, assuming both bosses are debuffed by the sap effects, which is quite handy. Keeps the HP damage very manageable in this fight. Okay, so here you see the Scorpion B using Brave Charge, and it only has the sap effect from Ultimecia at this point, so it still does Ferrum Laser with 13,000 Brave, but even that is still at least some damage reduction taken. And again, after that, Aerith can very comfortably heal the entire party with Healing Wind, so it's no longer an issue. I treat my summon as an emergency button, and it's really for situations where I can't avoid incoming damage any longer. In particular, Aerith herself doesn't have very strong Brave shaving potential, and the bosses have high turn rate, especially if they break your characters, which they will often do with this party setup. So there will be times, and you'll see later on, where you may have to pop summon just in order to buy you additional turns to shave the bosses down. With Ultimecia, the loop I use with her is to use her EX into her Hell's Judgment second skill, into an HP++ attack, and then only into a Protean Sword. And then thereafter I HP++ attack all the way until her EX is charged again. And this is again mainly for skill conservation purposes. Doing so, I only need to use one Protean Sword per EX cycle, because the Hell's Judgment is a free ability use. And this allows me to have more skill users for the later parts of the fight, when I need to quickly spam skill users in order to charge Ultimecia's EX more rapidly. So you can see a good example of the sap effect here. The Brave Charge give the boss 18,000 Brave, and immediately 9,000 gets taken away, and because of that I only take about 3,000 HP damage per character, which is easily tankable. So the idea is to try to always have the framed sap debuff from both Ultimecia and Shantotto on the bosses as much as possible. It's not easy to have 100% uptime just due to the many turns that the bosses have, but as long as you can inflict this when they are about to use Brave Charge into Ferrum Laser, that's when you really need it. For the rest of the bosses' turns, again they tend to do harmless Brave attacks, which really only gives them Brave, and ends up with one character being broken, which is very survivable. Okay, so this is a little bit dangerous. You can see the bosses are about to get 3 turns, and they have 30,000 Brave each. However, the Scorpion B is targeting all at this point, and that's only going to be a wave laser or wave cannon attack. I can't remember the name, but that's a party-wide Brave attack. So if it's targeting all, it will never do an HP attack regardless of how much Brave it has. So I'm not worried about Scorpion B, so therefore I just targeted Scorpion A with Aerith and attacked it to shave some Brave. I still take quite a bit of damage from the Ferrum Laser attack, but managed to survive. So I managed to hang on to my summon for a little while longer. Okay, heal to full with Aerith's Healing Wind. So here I eat another Ferrum Laser attack, but because of the sap effects, I take only about 4000 HP damage per character. And if you don't see the bosses targeting themselves, there really isn't a lot of danger, so I wasn't in a big hurry to heal myself. Though you do need to watch out to make sure that the bosses stay broken, because if they have some residual brave, there is a risk that they will just do a generic HP attack, which will be quite risky when your party members are not at full health. However, you can see that with Aerith, I decided not to use Healing Wind and just use her turn to deal some extra damage in. Because once her EX is charged, Fury Band will heal your party anyway. So unless you need to top up your party for an incoming Ferrum Laser, you don't need to be in a hurry to quickly heal yourself. Okay, so Scorpion A is about to use Ferrum Laser, so at this point I quickly use Healing Wind to make sure I'm topped up before it uses that attack. And Scorpion B again is targeting all, so I know it's going to be a wave shot, which is just a harmless group brave attack. Okay, unfortunately, you can see here, Scorpion B targeted Shantotto, delayed her, and here I have no choice. I have to pop my summon because Scorpion B is about to use Brave Charge into Ferrum Laser, which starting from a Brave of 30k would deal at least 10,000 damage per character and likely wipe my party, even though I can heal with Aerith at this turn. So I decided not to risk it and just pop my summon here. Ideally, I wanted to save my summon until Ultimecia's EX is charged and then pop summon on Ultimecia's loaded EX. But you know, I prefer not to take the risk at this late stage of the fight. At this point onwards, I am a bit more liberal with Ultimecia skill users. In particular, especially inside summon, I use EX into Hell's Judgment spam, and I repeat this again, making sure to only save one skill use of her Hell's Judgment, so that each subsequent time after that when she uses her EX, I get to use Hell's Judgment for free. The idea here is to quickly burst down the bosses at this stage of the game, because with their boosted stats they start to get a bit more dangerous. With Shantotto also, you can, as I did use one of her LD here inside summon to debuff the 100% defense down, and at this stage of the game, spamming Shantotto's LD EX as well as Ultimecia's EX will quickly whittle down the boss's remaining health, as you can see. Once the scorpions are low, you do need to try to even out their HP and kill them off at roughly the same time, because there is an enraged mechanic here. When one scorpion dies, the remainder will get another boost to its stats, especially making it quicker and more difficult to deal with. And at this stage, I can actually paralyze the bosses 3 turns in a row with Shantotto, so that allowed me a significant window of time to continue dealing damage with Ultimecia here. As you can see, her EX will always be charged on her next turn because I'm spamming skills during all her free ability uses or free turns, and you can see it does very significant damage. So this is really one of the strengths of Ultimecia. So here I just decided to use Ultimecia's last Hell Judgment here because the bosses are low enough that I'm quite sure I would have been able to kill them off before Ultimecia's next turn, so there's no need to save the last bit of Hell's Judgment anymore. And yep, I managed to kill off one of the scorpions here, and the other scorpion will die off. I could have ended the fight with Aerith here, but I decided to use Healing Wind before I end the fight so that I can end the fight with a full HP on my characters and maybe get a bit higher score here. So that's it. As always, if you enjoy the fight, do leave a like, leave a comment or subscribe. It really helps. Till then, I'll see you in the next Chaos fight. Bye bye.